When Honda announced the Urban E concept back in 2017, well, I actually got quite excited. Mainly because, well, it looked like a clever little urban electric car from a company that likes to engineer things properly. And I've got to admit that it was kind of love at first sight for me. Although it took me a while to work out exactly why, then the penny dropped. Because actually it's supposed to look like an early Honda Civic, but actually it reminds me of my all-time favourite car. My dad had one in the 80s, it's the Mark II Golf. Probably not intentional on Honda's side, but anyway, what's more of a surprise is that Honda actually then barely changed the show car when it started production. So while most manufacturers were introducing big, heavier SUV-style electric cars with larger ranges but lower efficiency, here was Honda going its own way. And well, since this was Honda's first go at a pure electric production car, well, I had a feeling that this company might throw everything at it. And I mean, look at it. The actual car, now just called a Honda E, has turned up in 2020, and I am still as keen as when I very first laid eyes on it. I mean, just look at it. It's so cute. It's so cool. I love it. But not everyone shares my opinion, especially in this bold yellow and black. I can see why it's a little bit like a jar of Marmite. But anyway, I will explain my thinking in just a moment. But before I delve into all things Honda E, please do like and subscribe our channel. Switch on those notifications. Let us know what you think in the comment section. We really do love hearing from you. It does make all the difference when we see people responding to our videos. And tell us what you think, the good, bad and the ugly. So the Honda E, let's take a look. It's a small 5-door hatch with pretty square proportions and a happy little face, dominated by this black mask across the front with big round eyes peering out. Now, first impressions, well, it's not really an aggressive car in any way at all. I think this is kind of the automotive equivalent of a puppy. Who doesn't like puppies?
It's also a car that blends simplicity with detail.
And then we've got this black panel on the front. Any guesses what it might be? It's the charging point, of course, which I absolutely love because it makes it a feature. Why hide something so wonderful? So it makes it a feature bang in the middle of the car, which is also great because it means then when you go to a charging point, you don't need to work out which side of the road and which way your car needs to be facing. So it makes it super simple being in the centre. And you see these lights, it's 2 for 1, headlights and indicators in the same casing. And that's exactly the same with these round rear lights. And the reverse lights, well, they're just here, right alongside the rear view camera. All nice, slimline and unobtrusive. Now, the car hasn't got a load of spoilers and extra bits. It's a body with short overhangs and these swoopy wheel arches. All of the versions come with this black roof and this feature line that runs from the front headlight all the way down the side of the car, and then this little kick up the back. It's a car that feels, well, pretty uncluttered and quite calm. But while the outside is saying one thing, the inside is saying something completely different. I mean, look at this. I've never seen anything like it. Obviously, you cannot help but notice, because well, you can't bloom miss it, is this IMAX wall of screens in front of you. There are a pair of 12.3-inch touchscreens here and here, and an 8-inch screen right in front of me here. Plus, of course, we've got 2 screens on the far left and far right, and that's for the standard door-mounted rear view cameras instead of mirrors. And I've got to say, they are so good. If you look at the images, they are absolutely crystal clear. I'm really surprised about how much I like them. I thought they might be a bit off-putting, but you get used to it really quickly.
The only other car I've ever driven with them is an Audi e-tron, but they have the screens mounted in the door tops and you have to refocus to get a view. So I wouldn't really rate them.
Now these are much more in my eye line, far more user-friendly, a little strange at first, but honestly you do get used to them really quickly. It's a lovely, sharp, clear image. Plus, they're covered in a rain repellent coating, so you still get a good view in heavy downpours, so you don't need to worry there. And I must say, when I got in the car this morning, it was quite dark, it was heavily raining, not nice conditions, and I was unbelievably impressed at how clear and crisp the view was from these side cameras, mirrors, whatever we want to call them. Now, if you were worried about not having enough screens in this car, well, do not worry, because the rearview mirror is... yes, it's another camera. You have to flick it to engage, and that gives you a much clearer view of what's going on behind you, particularly, of course, if you've got passengers behind you. But it really is a fantastic camera and another way of just having like this incredible 360-degree view around the car.
Which might have you thinking that the Honda E feels a bit complicated, perhaps hard to understand, but honestly, it really isn't. Honda wanted the E to feel like an upscale lounge, and I really think it succeeded. The dash is flat underneath that wall of screens and laminated in matte faux wood, which kind of grounds the whole forward view, and everything from the textures to the colours have a nice flowing feel about it. Just have a look around. The seats are made from recycled polyester and are tweedy in design and rather comfortable. There's this storage box between the seats with movable dividers and this rather cute leather strap that you can use to pull out the cup holders. There's no centre console in the middle, so it feels weirdly spacious, although I'm not complaining. Then as you move up the dash, there's USB ports for charging, physical aircon controls and buttons for things that you need regularly.
The other thing I love is that it's full of quite unique, kind of quirky Japanese things. For example, if you want, you can plug in your games console into these screens and sit and play. So for example, you can bring your Nintendo and play while you charge. It even has a 3-pin plug socket down here, so you can power your Nintendo while charging. But if you're suddenly thinking, oh wow, there's a 3-pin plug socket, can I charge my car from it? No, you can't. That's not how they work. Or perhaps you're more into watching some relaxing fish swim by while you're charging your car. Yes, this car comes with its own digital aquarium. You can even feed the fish if you tap on the screen. Absolutely love it. What a great idea. Although I have searched high and low, and unfortunately there is no button that delivers chips with those fish.
Now, it's wise to note that all of this stuff is configurable, so your passenger can be doing one thing while the driver has more relevant information nearer to them. And yes, you do have to figure it out a bit to understand all the functions, but there is a personal assistant if you can get her to reply to you.
The one thing that you notice when you actually start to drive the longer distances is how grown up the E feels. It has expensive independent suspension all round and the batteries between the axles, which gives you that perfect 50-50 weight distribution and really good handling. The ride is firm but fun, and the steering is light but accurate. And well, that means I think it just handles really, really well. Also, because the power is sent to the rear wheels, well, it actually feels a bit sporty. Now, it's not hugely fast, but it's plenty compared to other hatchbacks of this size. There are actually two models that you can choose from. There's the base and the advance, and they both have the same 35.5 kilowatt hour battery, but two different motor outputs. So the basic gets 134 brake horsepower and a 0 to 62 mile per hour time of 9 seconds. And then the faster version, the advance, gets 152 brake horsepower and 8.3 seconds to 62 miles per hour. Both have a top speed of 90 miles an hour, which is more than enough.
I'm not going to lie, one of my favourite things about the Honda E is its absolutely incredible turning circle. This car will actually turn in just 4.3 metres. Now, a normal car like a VW Golf takes nearly 11. And, well, you know how people love to go on about how London black cabs have mega manoeuvrability. 8.35 metres to you, governor. Positively boat-like compared to this, so it outranks a taxi. Is that a fair comparison?
There's a one pedal regenerative braking mode, which you get by pressing this button down here. It is actually super aggressive and does take a bit of getting used to, but I quite like it. It might feel a little bit over the top for you, but don't worry, because you can actually choose from 4 different levels from the steering wheel paddles just here. So basically you got all the options at your fingertips. And of course there are the usual modes: sport, comfort and eco, which makes the E either faster and less economical, or slower and, well, a bit more stingy really. I know which one I'm going to be flicking to. But generally this Honda feels zoomy, it's fun, it's endlessly entertaining to drive.
And yet, it's not all roses, kids. No, that small battery means that you're looking at 125 to 137 miles of range, depending on the spec you choose, which we all know is going to drop in winter. The E is also surprisingly heavy, given that the battery isn't that big. And although it does have 5 doors and enough space for rear passengers, the boot is absolutely tiny, as in backpack tiny. And before you think there might be a slick secret compartment, well, there isn't. You can fold the seats, but I'm not sure that's enough.
It's also not inexpensive. There might be a generous standard spec, but the cheapest Honda E costs £27,160 after the government grant. And then there's the more expensive advanced spec, which clocks in at £28,660. Yes, with that you do get the ultra-fast 100 kilowatt capable onboard charging, but you're probably going to need it. And well, even though you can get 0 to 80% of charge into the battery in just over half an hour, which is pretty good on a 50 kilowatt public charger, but that's actually because the battery is small rather than because it's super fast and efficient. A proper charge on a home wall box will take about 4 hours.
The problem for the Honda E is that if you look at it purely from the stats, it's not a winner, unfortunately. The Mini E is lighter, cheaper, and has a touch more range. The Fiat 500 is just as cutesy and can be had with a lot more range for less money. And that's not even taking into account the VW ID3, which can be had, again, with a more useful range and pretty aggressive pricing.
So what are you actually paying for? Well, it's a bit like the iPhone that I mentioned at the beginning. It's not actually the best small electric car in terms of value for money, but it has the kind of design and that feel-good factor that makes you want one anyway. It's a fashionable, desirable object that functions as a car. So is it enough to make you want one, even given a few of the shortcomings? Well, for some people it will be. But am I one of them? Well, I'm sure you've guessed by now. Of course I am. I absolutely love this car. I adore it. It's got functionality, the form and the fun factor. And honestly, when I walked out of my house this morning and this was waiting at the bottom of the pathway, it really put a smile on my face. So it is a massive thumbs up from me if you can live with the slightly lower range.
Now, if you do like the look of the Honda E, you must check out our videos of the Fiat 500, the Mini Electric and the VW ID3, along with the Mazda MX-30 maybe. Then you really can make an informed choice about whether the Honda E makes all the sense or none at all. And don't forget, please do subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you soon.